The album isn't even out yet. His comeback is already killing me. Oh, they must have needed a lot of extras for this video. There are some really interesting things that they're doing in this video from a filmmaking perspective. A lot of the imagery definitely goes along with the idea of seeing things in distorted ways. Constant images being broken. One of the most interesting things when they decided to start breaking the crop line, a lot of boundaries are broken. Things are always lurking just outside of them. There's also a lot of confining imagery in this video. The lines of light and the grid act as like a visual prison, trapping him inside, where they dolly him back through the hallway. At the beginning, he runs through. Later on in the video, he doesn't have any control over it and he's just being pulled back as the doors close and he's not able to do anything about it. Now, the room that he's in with the mirrors, marble everywhere, there's chandeliers. There's a lot of like a facade happening, made to look really nice. The mirror breaks and it sort of breaks the facade. Low frame rate, changing the angle in quick succession. Also has some very interesting camera movement, very similar style to what was at the beginning of DNA, zooming in and out to skewed, distorted perspectives. There's a lot of what I would call visual chaos. It's almost like kaleidoscopic in a way. I think it says a lot about images of people not necessarily being true to reality. It's ending with the cameras rather than him. He ends up basically just fading away. We're left with all of these faceless people. All of these things will still be there, but the person that they're interested in is going to change. So essentially we're going to take what they did on the floor with the shadow hands, put it 90 degrees on its side and make it into a light. Probably supposed to be called a light box, but I am going to call it a shadow box light. Sneak peek. We're starting with this. We did it! Yay! This is a picture frame, obviously, from the dollar store. Really thin plywood left over. Size the box based on the size of the picture frame. The side pieces need to be 2 widths shorter than the actual length. To subtract 3/8 of an inch. I got a cutting mat. Don't have to be cutting on the floor anymore. Support this, waiting for the snap, and then I'll stop, and then we'll go the other way. I'm going to sand all the hard edges off. Now that there's dust all over everything, including myself. I actually did try to nail or screw into it, but it was just too thin. We're using glue. Wood glue, obviously, because it's wood. The long pieces are always on the outside and the short pieces are always on the inside. Line them up on the corner so that we get a 90-degree angle. Put some heavy objects, hot glue all of the edges. I want this light to sort of have the same qualities as a soft box. Soft boxes are made up of lights, a box that's painted white on the inside because it bounces the most light off of it. Bounced light is a lot softer than direct light. Soft boxes are very soft. And a diffusion material usually that goes over the top to soften the light even further. There's a lot of things that you could use for this. Grid cloth, what I use on my actual softbox, does have a gridded pattern on it. Wanted to be as close to the video as I could, so we did have some parchment paper. Parchment paper and wax paper are good because they're meant for baking, so they have high temperature thresholds. I used strip lights. The ones that I got off Amazon. Light up your emotion. Yep, that's what I need, okay? They're very thin, so I could put them on the back of the box and it wouldn't take up a lot of space. And also, they're pretty easy to use. They're designed to be cool. We should be all good with fire hazards. It comes with a remote, so you can change the color of them. It'll create shadows. We're pretty much doing the exact same thing that they did in the video, but on a smaller scale. The actual frame of the floor. In one of the shots, it's a straight grid, and then in another one, sideways, so that it's diagonal. I ended up liking the diagonal. Thought it was a little bit more dynamic, which did make my life harder, but again, I always choose to do that, so I drew out the grid on the parchment paper. It had to be a stiff material so that it would stay up. Cut some really, really thin strips of wood, probably the worst part of the process. Skewers or dowels would make your life a lot easier, but if you have stuff laying around, crafting is recycling. So I did one direction first, size all of them, then we just do that a bunch more times basically. I'm gonna paint these, still using the certificate of achievement. I painted them and then glued them to the parchment paper with hot glue. This is about placing with confidence. Glue does not stick to parchment paper, but don't mess with it too much. It will stick enough for you to be able to make your grid easier. Mark stack them and then cut it. It's probably going to take quite a while. Fitting and cutting the pieces that would go in between. I glued those directly to the other wood that was already going the other direction. The glue sticks to the wood and I put the frame around it to make sure that it would fit inside of, but I also wanted it to be very snug. There's nothing actually holding it in there. There probably should be, but there's not. At this point I tested the lights. I decided that I was gonna lay parchment paper over top the grid. That would prove for an interesting challenge later. The snow just started coming down and I swear to God I saw an entire movie flash before my eyes. Well, this is my view right now.
되지 않는데 너는 음악을 들을 때 trying to pull up 시간이 멈추게 Oh that could be my first days I've been always afraid of 귓가에 있는 이 심장 소리만 뻥뻥뻥 벗어날 해도 그 입속으로 점점점 어떤 노래도 알아듣지 못해 이 소리 없는 소리 질러 모든 빛이 침묵하는 바다에 길 잃은 내 발목을 또 잡아 어떤 소리도 들리지 않아 Killing me now, do you hear me? Holding 듯 천천히 가라앉아 나 몸부림쳐 바다서 방이 바닥나 모든 순간들이 영원히 돼 Feeling me now, do you hear me?
We need a Yoongi, the subject of our piece. Print out a screenshot from the video or paint the position you want him to be in. But I didn't just want him to be 2D. We need to make 3 of him. Cut this out and then trace it. Really just base this off of how high parts of his body would be. Should I start with shadows? Probably not. The bottom layer I fully painted. The middle layer was just his head, his vest, and part of his leg. And then the top layer was just his knee. I attached the bottom layer to paperboard so that it was stiff. Cut out all of the layers. He's just like levitating all of his various body parts. Put foam on the back. I just glued it on and layered it so it looked 3-dimensional. I made the shadow people out of paperboard that I painted black. I could fold it a little bit so it could be sort of reaching towards the floor. This one's quite horrifying. I made like some sort of weird Mr. Game & Watch by accident. They don't stick to the parchment paper. We have to attach them to the wood. Sometimes, even if you're not sure, you just gotta commit. That's what I need to tell myself because that's why it takes me so long to do these projects. I measured around the entire box, laid the piece of parchment paper underneath the grid, and I just kind of pushed it, lined the grid and the parchment paper up with that line and staple around the whole thing. I did test this before. It doesn't look good from the inside, but none of my projects ever do really. I couldn't get it totally taut, which is really my biggest regret. It would have been so good. I'm sure somebody has a better solution. I did not think of it. We didn't have enough plywood to make the back piece. Went rifling around in the garage. Some kind of old piece of furniture. I don't really know. I think it was just a piece of pressboard. Cut that to size with a jigsaw. It was pretty crusty and disgusting. We just covered that up with some paint, so it was fine. So I need to attach Yoongi. The parchment paper made my life so much harder. Found a tack that had a flat surface, put glue on the tack, pushed the tack through the parchment paper and into the wooden grid. We will see if he ever falls off. He has not yet though. I'm taking it as a win. We need to set the lights up. Am I nervous? Yes, but that's kind of my constant state of being, so. Drill a hole to fit the cord through. I debated a lot I wanted to just put them on normally. I actually liked them when they were facing vertically better. Is that what you're supposed to do with them? No. Listen, I don't think they intended me to be making this with these anyways. I just wanted to make sure that the light was as soft as possible. It came with these clips that you're supposed to use to attach them to like a wall or something. Obviously, I did not do that. I just put them going straight up and down rather than using the adhesive on the back, and I just glued them in a vertical pattern. I'm pretty sure exactly how they did it in the video because you can see the sections of where the lights are. If it ends up looking bad, I'm just gonna be really sad. Cut it on the RGB line. Don't cut it anywhere else. I tried to do it as neatly as possible. Test things before you commit. I might have tested too much. That's probably why it just took me so long. Affix the picture frame glass to the picture frame. Have all of these metal things that you just bend to place things into the frame. You can see it on the other side. That is a problem. Needed to attach the glass to the frame directly. Well, this is for like plastic. Smells like oranges, which is interesting. Bend these back. I actually did a bunch of different renderings to try and decide what color I wanted to do. You know those packages of Crayola crayons that were like gold? I always remember the crayon for Robin's Egg Blue, and that is essentially exactly the color that I painted the box. Oh, Jesus. It was one of the colors that was very prominent in the video. So beautiful. Laughing, smiling, looking down. Kind of made it look very retro, which is not something that I had planned, but I'm not mad about it. I painted the picture frame too. I had to assemble everything together. Again, it's just all glued. I really didn't have any other options. I actually did have another idea. Hear me out because I know a lot of people have done this. The section of the music video, the broken mirror, painting of that part of the video on some tinfoil. I'm gonna give you a little bit of both. Here is my Shadow Box Light.
I wanna be rapped, I wanna be the top, I wanna be a rockstar, I want it on mine. I wanna be rich, I wanna be the king, I wanna be me, I wanna be king. Oh boy, let me see, I got a big dream, yeah. 매일 설레지 내가 어디까지 갈지 정신없이 달리다 보니 어느새 여기까지 왔지. Yeah, 발 밑에 그림자 고개 숙여 보니 더 커지잖아. 도망쳐봤잖아 따라오는 저 빛과 비례하는 내 그림자. I wanna be rapped, I wanna be the top, I wanna be a rockstar, I want it on mine. 너는 나야 이제 알겠니. 그래 너는 나고 나는 너야 이제 알겠지. 우리랑 몸을 걷고 내는 별을 즐겼지. 너는 절대 나를 떼어낼 수 없어 알겠지. 떼어낼 수 없어 네가 뭐를 하든지. 인정 가능해도 변화하겠지. 성공 혹은 실패 어디에 있든지. 꿈을 칠 수 없어 어디 가든지. 우린 너고 우린 나야 알겠네.
I really liked this project in concept. The final result was pretty cool. However, I will say that the craftsmanship leaves something to be desired. I would like to learn to get a little bit better at stuff like that. I also wish that I could have gotten the diffusion more taut. The actual depth of everything would have been a little bit more accurate. They ended up being slightly less defined than I would have wanted them to be. I would love to see if anybody makes something like this. They just impress me every time with their music videos. I hope this did some kind of justice to it. I really like what they've been writing about. I'm so excited to see the music video because if it's a dark concept,